Yeah? So I can spend these last 5 minutes tidying things up, not taking anything away, not adding anything, because you're not going to add anything which is sensible. Yeah? So well, you might, I'm not going to. I don't want to. Yeah? So that's why we've kept it simple. We just want people communicating technical skills that show that you understand what a budget's about. Business skills by saying we're a manufacturing organisation, so let's talk about a manufacturing budget with raw materials, ingredients, with direct labour, things that we would see when we looked at the reference materials and there was a costing statement in there. Yeah, I'd be able to do that. So business skills. People skills by communicating it to Mark. Yeah, you say, Mark, as requested, a bit on budgets and stuff. No, that's not what you'd write. Yeah, a bit on budgets. Yeah, and it said, no need to be a formal report, so I don't have to say, dear Mark, however so nice of you to tell me to do this, it's an honour to work for you. You don't do that. You say, Mark, you wanted to know about budgets, here you go. Right? So I've spent 5 minutes tidying this up. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, bing. What happened there? In the exam, that answer has been submitted. Yeah? I could have, and I can't show you now, because I can't wind back time. There's share one time. I could have pressed the next button, and the next button would have said, are you sure you want to move on? You've got time left. Right? And if I pressed this next button with 15 minutes to go, I wouldn't have earned those 15 minutes later in the exam. My exam would have gone from being a 3-hour exam to a 2-hour 45-minute exam. So we fill out the time by that tidying, prioritisation, if we've got our best ideas down. Okay? Click OK to continue, and then you'll see what happened. I hope that was task 3. Yes, this is now task number 4. And it starts all over again. It is now another 4 weeks later. You have had your annual leave. Fantastic. I hope I had a nice time. I get an email from Mr. Harris, and it is something completely different. Yeah? So it's not about budgeting, not about recruitment. To put you in the picture, I completed purchase of a factory last week. Right? So it is something completely different. It doesn't depend on budgeting, anything like that. So you could answer this on its own. Doesn't matter if you've done a good or a bad answer on budgeting. Yeah? But the job is, once again, to display technical skills. This one, I think, is about cash budgeting. Yes, available cash. There, you've done a cash flow forecast. Right? You can access that. There's the cash flow forecast. You can click next, and you get the task. There we go. Thank you for the forecast. I'm alarmed. Firstly, why is the position so bad? Secondly, is there anything we can do to improve it? So again, objective testing would have had me displaying that. One of those questions was, what would the cash budget be based on these purchases and inventories? Yeah? I'm not doing that again. It's done for me. This time it is, what does that say? Look, cash flow carry forward, 270,000 negative at the end of December, 550. Is there anything I can do to avoid that? Plant and equipment, why not rent it rather than buy it? Yeah? So that's the business skill applied to the technical thing. Explaining it to Mr. Harris is part of the people skills. Telling him, what he does if there are people involved is part of the leadership skills that we've got for the individuals and the business. All right? So that's what it is. It's not the same as an objective test, but in a different context. completely different set, and it is driven by the competencies rather than the learning outcomes. So the OTs are learning outcome driven. Case study is going to mark you on how well you deal with the technical issues, not whether you're particularly good at cash forecasting or budgets or whatever else. It's how good are you incorporating your technical skills, business skills, people skills, and leadership skills into this business scenario. Right. I am going to leave that there. See? And once I finish it, next. You are about to leave this section of the exam. Do you want to continue? Yes. Are you sure you want to? Yes. Oh dear. Oh yes. There's a few safety nets to try and make sure that there isn't a problem, and just, you know, the clever stuff behind the scenes. And you know, if somebody were to walk past your assessment station, your PC when you're doing the test, and trip over and spill their coffee all over your screen and knock the computer off the desk and pull all the wires out of it, proper clumsy. Yeah, that, what I'd written, I hadn't written anyone in that one, and the one before, what I'd written is now saved. And when I go back in, it's just like you saw with my little pictograms of Venkat with and without hair. I wrote those earlier on. I wrote them when we were speaking to the tutors before lunchtime. Yeah, and logged back in, and it was exactly as I had left it, and that's how the exam thing works. All right, so technology backs it all up, and we don't have anything really to fear. We don't get a result when we're playing the practice exams. It produces a score report, but there's nothing to tell, because obviously it can't mark those words I've written. That's not the objective test. Okay, so the intention there was to explain what we've done with the syllabus and to give you some foresight as to what's happening with the exams. Yeah, I know you're in the middle of studies just now for certificate. Some of you might be doing it, looking at the game. Is everyone's certificate? Is anyone at a different level yet? All certificate. This is what you got coming. All right, you're very, very lucky because you don't have to spend 3 hours writing with a bit of paper. Yeah? So everyone's doing just now. Do you know the average time that somebody spends writing pen and paper per day? 7 minutes. And we make people do it for 3 hours. Aren't you lucky? Anyway, thank you for coming. It's been great to see people. There are forms going to be handed out.
Anybody has questions?
Yes. Have we got time for questions? Sorry, I switched off my clock.
No, that's all right.
The microphone is here.
Anybody has questions?
You can, if you are comfortable with Burmese, you can ask in Burmese. I understand. I can translate. Any question?
Don't leave this room saying, I wish I asked, and go back home and saying, I wish I asked. He doesn't come every day. To this region, he travels most probably once a year. So you're hearing from the people who develop and are part of the system in terms of what you do for exams. So don't be shy. I cut my hair, I'm not shy. Michael cuts his hair in very funny ways, he's not shy. So if you have any questions, please put your hand up. If you're not comfortable asking in front of people, because that also could exist, you will not allow people to have dinner also, because you will go behind you and excuse you. But we prefer you asking your question here, because you do a benefit for someone else, and someone else will have the same question as well.
I just learned a phrase. Meko me chava. Anyone? Yes.
Oh, give the mic. Yeah.
Okay.
You ask.
Just now you mentioned that we will have to use computer to take case study exam.
Yeah.
So it's going to be at the exam center, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we will have to use the exam center computers, right?
Yes.
It's actually just a very simple question. it's the keyboard's going to be the same.
Can I?
Yeah, we were discussing this with all the lecturers earlier today, saying, yeah, it won't be a keyboard like this. It will be a loose keyboard. So if what you're used, if you were used to typing on a laptop, it will be slightly different. If you're used to typing on an iPad, it will be slightly different. So look, the argument they would say, yeah, we're going to be working with the colleges to make sure that everyone's got the equipment on which they can practice. I think it's fair. Because under the current system where people are writing for 3 hours, the one major criticism from examiners is that they don't appear to have practiced their handwriting. Yeah? And that's genuinely over and over at that strategic level all the way through, that hey, you're just about to do something that, like I just said, you do it on average for 7 minutes, and then all of a sudden you sit yourself down to do it for 3 hours. It's crazy. So you've highlighted the point fantastically that if I'm going to use equipment that I'm not comfortable with, it's going to hinder my chances of passing. So let's make sure that you do practice. Yeah? So it was a decision made at lunchtime.
How many of you all study at tuition centers? You have to put your hand up.
Centers.
Centers. All those who study at centers? Okay. Yeah, where you go for classes.
School,
how many of you go to
school?
School. Right. What we have done is we've spoken to them in the afternoon. The computers that they have, the keyboards that they have, will be changed to the same keyboards you'll be using at the exam. Right? So what you do is when you go to the center or the school where you learn CIMA, the keyboard that you will practice for exams, all your mock exams, all practice, will be the same keyboard as the one they will use for the exam. So when you go, it's not new. You'll be like, I have used this before. Does that help you?
Everyone looks so happy.
Second thing, y'all are thumb generation. Y'all are not finger generation, you're thumb generation. How many of y'all are very good at typing? Very, very fast. How many of y'all are very good? Put your hands up. Honestly. How many of y'all are very fast at typing answers? Oh, typing on the computer. Hands up. 1, 2, don't be shy. 3, 4, 5. Okay. What we are going to do with the centers is we are going to do, we're going to train you all in speed typing. Back to school. In about 30 years ago, you would have learned to type in the old typewriter. You'll have to go, tuck, 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 tuck. Here we're going to go do training. All the centers are coming together with us to train all of you all in speed typing. They will teach you the skills how to type. So when you go to the exam, you won't go like me, but you will be comfortable. All right, so 2 things we are working, keyboard project. So all the keyboards will be changed in your centers to the exam keyboard, and you will be given training. Does that help you all? I don't know, in India there's this thing called the Indian head shake. You see an Indian anywhere on the road, you ask him, are you okay? Do you have dinner? Are you having fever? Everything is the same. So I would like to ask you all if you all agree, if you all understand, say yes. You say no, don't say yes, and don't say no. So does that help you all? Oh my God, only front row. Any other questions, please? See, we are warming up. We are like a family, so don't worry about asking questions. And there is no right, wrong, stupid question. Question is a question. Trust me when I tell you that. Yes. He put his hand up and put it down.
Is this resting this out? Anyone?
Yes.
It's about the whiteboard and the whiteboard marker pen in the exam. And we are not compatible with that because it seems the whiteboard seems older than me, and the whiteboard marker is not new, it's very old, so we are not compatible to using.
Can I take that up, Peter?
Yeah,
That's
sure.
good to you. Everything there's a change. When this was given to you the first time, Did you go to the shop and say, I'm not used to it, I don't want. I want to stick to my old Nokia phone. You didn't, right? What did you do? You tried, you used, you started using it. Now if I give you a Nokia phone, do you have a smartphone? Yes. If I give you a Nokia phone and ask you to give me the smartphone, would you? No. So change takes time. I know you're not, that's why we are talking to you today. Change takes time. But what we want you all to do is practice. Practice, practice, practice. That's why one of the things that we spoke to the tuition centers today, or your schools today, is to see how to make you all comfortable so by the time you go to the exam, it's not the first time you're doing things. So do not worry about those things, right? We will make sure that we will give the right infrastructure readily available to you all. So by the time you go to the exam, no problem, get to. It's like the online calculator. You all have used the online calculator before in the certificate level exam? The CBA? No? First time when you saw it, you went, oh, online calculator, what? Touch the screen, is it? But now when you go to do the operational level paper, you're used to the online calculator. So change takes time, and that's why we will work with the tuition centers and you all to get you all used to it. I hope I answer your question. And afterwards, I will take your smartphone and give you a Nokia. Anything else for Peter, please? Yes.
I would like to know that before we are granted with the 20 minutes for the questions reading.
For the reading time, yes.
Yeah. Is that still granted or it's no more?
It's not. I mean, in the objective testing,
Yes.
there isn't. The case study, there is no reading time. You've got the pre-scene where it's
Yes.
the familiarity, which I suppose gives you 7 weeks of reading time. But of course, the idea of the case study is that it's to test what you're like in business. So issues hit you, and you've got to deal with them straight away. Now, the way that they're being written is that the 45 minutes that task might have had does allow for considering the task, reading the trigger, reading the task, planning out an answer, which you can do, typing the answer plan. I wouldn't use a scratch pad, between you and me, I wouldn't use a scratch pad. I would put my thoughts down in the answer screen, and if they turn into a sentence, fine, I'll keep them, and in the last 5 minutes, cut and paste. If they don't turn into the sentence, during the last 5 minutes, delete. So, so the questions are being written with the scope for the reading and the planning. That 20 minutes was introduced to try and cope with. I mean, I was working in training when the 20 minutes reading time was introduced, and it seemed at the time, it wasn't very well thought through. It was introduced without an explanation, and so previously the same questions were set. So are you saying, when you introduce reading time, are you saying that you're actually setting questions that are too hard to do in 3 hours? It wasn't a very well managed thing. It's there now, and those of us that have been teaching CIMA for years, we developed tactics for the 20 minutes that would benefit people who were in my classes or other classes, and it was just a bit of a mess, really. So I'm kind of glad to see it go, as long as, and again the exams team have reassured me that yes, the task will be set in such a way that they probably expect. If you look at some of the answers to the case studies, there's probably no more than 30 minutes of typing and writing and editing that's involved in a 45-minute task. All right, so the ones that we were just looking at, they were both 45 minutes tasks, and you could answer them well in 30 minutes. You could write out, you could copy out the answer in 20 minutes. So if you think the time to actually type it, to think, prioritise, and so it's all scoped within that. So they'll always be bearing that in mind.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And can I address one more thing? How many of you are doing certificate level here? Please put your hands up. Certificate. Right. You all have come through the object testing environment, because that's what you all do. Because your 5 certificate level papers were all object testing. For you to move to the next level, the 3 papers after that, is an easier transition. Now the challenge is with students who are used to doing paper-based exam, who haven't done object testing before. They have a harder challenge. And those students will be working differently. Now, in CIMA, the pass rates usually is at the lower levels, it's always better. The higher levels, it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. Well, I wouldn't say tougher, but it gets rigorous. The objective with the new assessments is the more you're used to doing object testing, the next 3 papers, you're used to the system. Once you do the case study, the 3 object papers, the case study, the 3 objects, by the time you go to the higher levels, you become experts. So we are building the system not to reduce the pass rates, but to ensure that competency is built up within you all and the pass rates get better. That's how we want to go. The rigor will always be there. The simple example that's always used is a brain surgeon. I mean, if you go to do your brain surgery and you're seated there, the doctor comes and says, I want to operate you. You ask the doctor, how competent are you? He said, don't worry, I got 50% pass. What will you do? Sit there, say, operate my head. No, I'll run. I don't know about you. So our objective is to move into the 70% competency, is to tell employers, y'all are not 50% qualified. Y'all have more than 50%. So as employers, you'll be knowing you're taking someone who has a better competency level. You're assuring them, they're assuring you. So as certificate level students, y'all are moving up, you are in a better position than most students who come through exemptions and come at different levels because they haven't done before. So the mock exams are there, go try it out. The more mock exams that you do, the more comfortable you become and the more prepared you become. But as my team here with Christine, Michael, and Jack, and myself, keep talking to us and let us know what other support that we could provide you. We had today a roundtable discussion with all the principals and the lecturers. We got their feedback. We need your feedback as well, because they are not doing exams. I'm not doing exams. Michael is not doing exams. Who's doing exams? He's not doing exams.
I just got 50%.
Fail.
Okay. Now we're going to distribute this feedback form, right? Probably a lot of you are very shy to talk to us. Okay? Just rest assured that we don't eat you. Okay, please talk to us. But if you are really shy to talk to us, there's one part on what kind of support that you expect us to provide. Okay, please write. If there's not enough space, you can write. Okay. Right. We're going to distribute this, and there's a pen in the back. You can use that. This is not an exam, so you don't have to think too long. And there's no name stated here, so you just put in other answers.
This is the art lecture. Oh, actually I do. I do, yeah, I do. I don't know if everyone else does. Object test, well, I was pretty good on the object test. I'll allow the object test. case studies.